Nie widzę. Widzisz?
Nie widzę.
Widzisz? Nie widzę.
Któż z nas nie lubi być potrzebny? Osoby niewidome i słabowidzące chcą, mogą i potrafią pracować.
Blind and visually impaired people want to, can, and know how to work. According to the Polish Association of the Blind, 5,396 blind and visually impaired people worked in 2005. This constituted 14.5% of the Blind Association's members who were at working age. It's one of the lowest employment rates for disabled people. Every year, fewer and fewer visually impaired people are working in state-owned institutions and in special disabled enterprises, which are being closed down because of lack of stability in the marketplace. I've been working in the foundation since December last year. My duties are varied. I deal with post, I answer the letters, draw up contracts, participate in the activities of the Disabled Commission. And Fokushik helps me to get to work and back home every day, and I think we manage somehow. I realized that a blind person could live independently. Moving around was the biggest problem. My problem was not the fact that I was embarrassed to walk with a white cane, but I couldn't manage. Covering a small distance in the street was practically a miracle. It would take me a very long time. And in order to get a dog, you have to walk with a white cane well, because your dog walks very fast. I passed the exam here at the Polish Association for the Blind, and I knew I could get a guide dog. And I immediately knew that I wanted a Labrador. I've already been working, I'd like to say, for 30 years, and from the very beginning I've been commuting on my own. Nobody needs to guide me to work. I leave the house, go to work, and come back home, and on the way I do my shopping.
Ile są pomidorki dzisiaj? 15 deko jakiejś wędliny chudej, albo szyneczka jak jest bez tłuszczu, albo polędwicy. Dam pani 20, 50 to jest też 50, a to jest 20, jak dla pani. Teraz zobaczymy, czy mam drobny, czy mam... Ale 4 jest, pani Aniu. Są 4 grosze, proszę bardzo. Może nie jest to taka konieczność, ale bardzo miła mi jest.
Maybe it's not a necessity, but I really appreciate other people's help. It's nice even if I know the way I'm going, because I can relax and I don't have to worry if there's some construction work that I don't know about.
O czym przecież nie wiem.
Henryk Rzepka is an information technology specialist. One of my basic duties at work is website administration. It's not only to administer them, but to construct them from the start.
Jest nie tylko to administrowanie, ale również tworzenie jej od początku. Dostaję od ludzi materiały na różne tematy i dbam o to, żeby te materiały były...
I receive materials on different topics from people and take these materials, which I put into a given website, so that it's clear, accessible to everyone, and especially accessible to blind and visually impaired people.
Pociąg pośpieszny z Warszawy Wschodniej do Łodzi Fabrycznej wjedzie na tor 8 przywrotny 4.
Henryk works in Warsaw. After work he goes to the central railway station using public transport. There he takes a direct train to Łódź. He's 100% independent.
Większość osób dotkniętych
Most people who
poważnymi
suffer from
problemami
serious
wzroku
visual
mogą
impairments
przechodzić
function independently both at home
przestrzeni
and at work after appropriate training in mobility, walking independently with a white cane, and daily living skills. Blind people are successful at taking care of their households and raising children.
Prowadzą gospodarstwo domowe, wychowują dzieci.
Moja żona jest
My wife is just great. She can cope with 2 kids in a way that's unimaginable for me.
radzi z 2 dzieci w sposób dla mnie niewyobrażalny.
Posiadam resztki wzroku, które...
I have some limited vision that helps me take care of the children, but it's not much. Some colors are big objects. I demand as much of them as should be demanded from children. They read their dad's text messages or check if there's any stains on clothing. Even though they're energetic and sometimes give us a hard time, they can help if there's a need. And they're so great.
Wszystkie problemy, które
All of the problems that affect everyone who raised their children affects us too, and we're not exempted from anything here.
i z niczego w tym względzie nie jesteśmy zwolnieni.
Blind people can try sport and traveling. Canoeing, cycling, or rope sliding are not reserved only for non-disabled people, and a good example is Antoni Szczuciński. How often do I canoe? At least once a year. If I don't, I really miss it. A disabled person who finds the courage to try sports or travel knows that they've already taken a big step towards a regular life. If they find the courage to swim, to cycle, or to go hiking in the mountains at least once a year, then their disability sort of disappears. It's shared by the coxswain, the guide on the bike, or the friend on a mountain trail. And then it's like that disability is something you forget about.
Ona się rozkłada na sternika, na pilota na rowerze czy na towarzysza szlaku i wtedy jest po prostu, no czasami się nawet zapomina.
I encourage all disabled people to get out, to hit the trail, and you'll definitely find friends and guides.
Przyjaciele i przewodnicy na pewno się znajdą.
Blind people can work in public institutions, private companies, or they can conduct their own business activities. Recently, working in special enterprises for the disabled has been the most common type of employment. In these special enterprises that are shown in the film, they make catering equipment, mainly big thermos bottle used for military canteens or hospitals, and also used by smaller catering companies. Disabled people, especially ones with severe impairments, have an extra motivation to work. The motivation lies in the fact that it's not only the question of financial remuneration for work, but the question of making it possible for them to meet other people, in this case their co-workers. And it's the everyday contact with these people that matters, not only staying at home, living on a pension and basically waiting for the mailman.
Tylko w domu na rencie i praktycznie czekanie na listonosza.
Blind and visually impaired people also work in activity workplaces. They deal with different things such as uniform making, dressmaking, artwork, gardening, and making ready-made confectionery and culinary products. Barbara Piech, in spite of a severe visual impairment, manages very well in the kitchen, though she also had contact with different jobs before. At the beginning, I worked in the knitting industry. I cleaned hallways, windows, and then when this workplace was opened, I started working in the kitchen. I work in the kitchen as a cook, but you do everything here. You peel potatoes, you prepare vegetables for the cooks. I'm happy and I love this work.
Przygotowuję się kucharką do pracy, do gotowania. Ja jestem zadowolona i ja kocham tą pracę.
A massage therapist's job is one that's perfectly suited for blind people. Endowed with a unique sense of touch and tact, they can understand very well the patient's health problems and complaints. These people are very reliable, they're very devoted and very committed to their work, and they get along with the patients very well. This job is difficult because, apart from massage technique, you have to have a broad knowledge of anatomy and different conditions. We give a typical therapeutic massage, a classic massage, a segmentary massage, and lymphatic drainage, for example, which after mastectomy is very important. We also use different techniques and we give relaxing massages, face massages, slimming massages, and overall massages. Norbert Ryszczuk is a graduate with a degree in English and Russian. He works as a teacher but mainly translates. He's been awarded the title of Sworn Translator. When he works on translations, he uses a computer with a text-to-speech engine. He works in the open market and often meets with his clients.
Wyobraźmy sobie taki przypadek, że ktoś przychodzi i dowiaduje się.
Let's imagine a situation like this. Someone comes to my place and they find out that I'm blind. Of course, they're a little shocked, but they don't leave, obviously, because they've already come. They've brought their documents to be translated, and they give it to me. But then it turns out that our partnership is very fruitful and profitable. Anyway, I think that as far as translations are concerned, I do them as well as sighted people.
Nie robię tego gorzej niż osoby widzące.
Adam Gryf-Keller works at the Warsaw University of Technology. He's a chemistry professor. He lost his vision right after his studies, but he's remained in the profession. He writes scientific papers. Without some kind of cooperation with sighted people, it would be difficult for me to get into chemistry as such. After the accident, I noticed that I simply had more time than my colleagues, who had lots of classes, lots of administrative and technical work here. Very often they would kind of pass on the problems which they simply didn't have time to solve, pass them to me, and I would tell them how to solve the problem. I would help them. I helped several people to do a doctorate degree this way. As a matter of fact, it convinced me that I'm able to work in this area, and it was later confirmed.
To mnie przekonało, że zresztą, że będę w stanie pracować w tej dziedzinie. No i to się potwierdziło potem.
Hanna Wysocka is a university employee. She works at the Warsaw Agricultural University as a specialist on dissemination of knowledge on human nutrition. The range of her duties is varied. She's an intermediate between academic teachers of the Facility of Human Nutrition and Consumer Sciences and the media. She organizes press conferences, lectures, and talks on scientific themes for the general public. She also writes articles.
Myślę, że jestem tutaj wyjątkową szczęściarą, że pracowałam na tym wydziale i że przyjęto mnie tutaj.
I think I'm an extremely lucky woman, that I can work in this faculty and that I was accepted here with such great kindness, given such a warm welcome, and that people wanted to help me, and they really did help me a lot. I can do this work thanks to a speaking computer, which is a computer which is equipped with all these different kind of facilities for blind people. I have special software, special gear, and it helps me to work on this computer.
Jest pracownikiem znakomitym. Naprawdę.
She's an excellent employee. The tasks she's been entrusted with, connected with the nutrition and with representing the faculty outside in different enterprises such as conferences, congresses, meetings with youth, are carried out in a very professional and I think a very good way for our faculty.
Realizowane w bardzo profesjonalny i myślę, że dla naszego wydziału korzystny sposób.
Ta maskotka, która jest przyczepiona do framugi drzwi.
This toy that's attached to the door is a sign for me that it's my door, because there's lots of similar doors. But I don't need anything else here. I have a cane which I use to get to work, and I don't need any special signs, which maybe in other people's cases could be necessary, but not in my case.
Szczególne tutaj oznakowania, które być może w przypadku jakichś innych osób byłyby potrzebne, ale w moim przypadku nie.
People who work as telemarketers are proficient at using computers. Their work consists in sharing information by phone using electronic databases. The idea originated in the fact that because of their disability, blind people use phones more than sighted people. They use the phone more frequently to deal with different affairs which sighted people do in person. They'll go to an office or a supermarket where blind people will use the phone more often in such situations. So the character of this disability is connected with technology. That's where the idea arose that maybe a job like this would be possible for blind people and would take advantage of their capabilities and skills.
I jakoś będzie się zgadzał z możliwościami i umiejętnościami osób niewidomych.
Jolanta Kramaj is a psychologist. She's got a rich professional career. She worked with alcoholics and their families, victims of domestic violence, and she taught students. Then she worked as a professional counselor in an employment agency. In 2002, she established a foundation which has the aim of providing psychological support and rehabilitation for blind people. The foundation emphasizes integration of disabled and non-disabled people, which is why it teaches volunteers and provides vocational training at the Warsaw Medical Vocational School for students majoring in social and environmental work.
Ponieważ wprowadzają w słuchaczy.
These classes are very valuable because they introduce the students to the world and issues working with blind people. And the information they get, and what's more important, the skills they learn during these classes are first-hand information, you could say. I know, for example, that in many situations it's good for the people who talk to me that I can't see, because they say it's easy to see that I'm not a person who didn't have problems in life to overcome. And if I manage to overcome them myself, maybe it's easier for me to give advice to someone who contends with problems. That's what victims of domestic violence said. After one class, someone said that he had problems talking to me because he hadn't been able to establish eye contact. But usually people who participate in my classes don't even notice that I have such limitations.
W prowadzonych przeze mnie zajęciach nie wiedzą w ogóle, że ja mam takie ograniczenie.
Blind people are successful in artistic professions. Janusz Skowron is a pianist of Europe-wide renown and the head of the jazz quartet, the Janusz Skowron Quartet. He gives concerts, makes records, and composes music. Music is my job, of course, but you can also say that it's a lifestyle. But really it gives you the opportunity to completely fulfill yourself, because it's a field where blind people can work on basically equal footing with sighted musicians.
Taka dziedzina, że z muzykami widzącymi człowiek niewidomy może tutaj nawiązać zupełnie praktycznie równorzędne relacje. Jestem bardzo szczęśliwy, że mogę ten.
I'm very happy that I can do this job. In music we don't need to divide people into sighted or blind, because in music I simply encourage everyone to look for talents within themselves and to try to take advantage of them. It's a well-known fact that most people are gifted, but they either can't find this talent within themselves or no one has helped them to find it. Is it true that blind people are uniquely talented musically? This is a stereotype that isn't backed up by any facts at all. There's no advantages here. Having an ear for music is a completely different thing than just normal hearing. I'd call it acoustic hearing. It's about something completely different.
Rodzajem umiejętności niż taki zwykły, nazwijmy to, słuch akustyczny. To zupełnie o co innego chodzi.
Maciej Piwowarczyk is an organist in a Roman Catholic parish dedicated to Saint Brother Albert in Busko-Zdrój. He leads music during Sunday Masses and church services, and he also gives concerts for the parish members and patients of the numerous sanitariums that Busko-Zdrój is famous for. I got interested in music when I was very young. When I was only 5, I played a small Casio organ, then I had a bigger Yamaha, and then yet a bigger one, and finally a piano. I used to play in a small village parish and got some practice there. I played in several music festivals, See With Music, and by accident here in Busko, the parish priest heard about me and suggested that I would play here in his parish. I have a device at home called Autolector, which reads for the blind, and I use it to prepare different texts. I use a dictaphone for notes, and someone records songs for me so that I can learn them. This is just the beginning, but I think I'll be fine. Marek Podyma is the parish priest. I think he's a very sensitive person, a very sensitive artist, too. He plays very ambitious music. I was afraid that the songs, after all these years, would become stale, but it turned out that he played them well and he harmonized them. There's maybe one problem, that he still needs to work on his vocal emission, but he has very good hearing and a willingness to learn. Maciej is the first person in Poland whose job in a Catholic church was financed by the state fund for the rehabilitation of disabled people. It's not the only reason I employed Maciek. I think that even without this support, he could find a job here. But he's definitely a great help, as we could buy a good middle-class organ earlier, and he can get ready to play it and give concerts. Piotr Tarasevich is a piano tuner. He works in the music school at the Special Education and Welfare Center for Blind and Visually Impaired Children in Krakow. If someone has an ear for music, this shouldn't be a difficult job for them. But there are some people with a good ear who can't tune a piano. Tuning a piano is quite a physical job. If someone is blind but has good manual skills, they can handle this job much more easily than someone who's not blind but doesn't have good manual skills. And what's more, I'd say that they don't hear what they're supposed to hear. There are some tools that help, such as electronic tuners, etc. I knew a blind man who would use one of those. He had all the frequencies inside this tuner. When he played it, he could do the piano based on this. But unfortunately, you can't do it this way because each piano is unique and you have to tune it by ear. That's why I mentioned hearing, which you should have at the beginning. Leszek Kopec is a radio DJ from Wrocław. He lost his vision when he was 3. One day he, by chance, met some students doing an internship at the Iglice radio station. That's when he began. When I was a kid, I had cataract surgery. Something went wrong during the surgery, but I had great parents who didn't let me isolate myself from other children. Even though I couldn't see, when we were outside, I would run around with the other children just like they did. There was a situation when my father had to buy me a bicycle because I forced him to do it. And I would ride this bike, seeing nothing. Preparing a broadcast depends on whether it's supposed to be a talk and music broadcast or a typical music broadcast. Recently, I've been specializing in typical music broadcasts, which consist of choosing the records first. I prepare most of the music at home because even though every radio DJ can use the radio station's collection, they usually have their own records, and I have lots of records at home. So I prepare my records, and I often listen to fragments of the songs which I want to play, and then the pile of records gets bigger and bigger in the middle of my room. My assistant marks the songs on the records. He takes what I've chosen, and that's how a script is created. It's like the question of sight doesn't exist here at the radio station. I mean, all my colleagues are very polite, but at the same time they treat me normally. I love working on the radio. There are no barriers here. You don't have to see. Here you need to know what to do with the mic, how to learn, how to respect your guests, how to receive them. And this is the most beautiful effect of the radio set. Who doesn't like to feel needed? And working as a radio journalist, I feel that somebody needs me. Somebody looks forward to hearing my voice. They look forward to hearing my Polish Radio Wrocław, hello, which is what I say when I answer the phones. And there's always someone on the other side of the radio, waiting to hear that.
Dziękujemy wszystkim osobom, które przyczyniły się do powstania tego filmu.
We would like to thank all the people who have contributed to the making of this film and performed in it as volunteers, and to the Fugamundi Foundation of Lublin for making material recorded during sports competitions available. The film was made for the Polish Association of the Blind, the script by the employees of Information and Promotion Unit for the Blind and Visually Impaired Employment Project. Factual advice was provided by Halina Gozówska, Elżbieta Łukasiak, Elżbieta Oleksiak, Małgorzata Pacholec, Joanna Rose Dzieduszycka, and Henryk Rzepka. The film was co-financed by the European Union through the European Social Fund and by the State Fund for Rehabilitation of Disabled People.